You guys, it's MJ. How are you? So today I want to talk about, this is coming through driving. I'm at a service station, and I was getting these real insights about the paradox of this whole like fear love game. And really now I'm finding myself sort of being sort of catapulted out the other end of lots of spiritual practice, right? Lots of and this comes out of, so paradox is obviously the fact that there's a double edge, there's a double entendre, duality, there's always contrast, right? And I guess the paradox is like how we are interpreting and how we're kind of trained to be in the world. And the fact that it all looks real and yet it's not real. It's an illusion. It's a holographic illusion of our own creation. And yet, you know, the weird paradox is that we have to feel the fear to love it. We have to face the fear and do and act it out in order to love it and heal it. And I last night went to a burlesque performance in Brighton and in the UK, and I live in the UK, by the way, if you guys don't know. And I mean, one, I was like, because of all the inner work I've done and like all the body work I've done for myself, like one, it was just really beautiful to see all of these women in different shapes and sizes and colors and backgrounds, and them, you know, embracing their form and being loved and being adored by the audience. And that adoration and the diversity is like uber duper beautiful. And yet some of you guys know I'm really endeavoring a sexual energy intuitive exploration, and people keep saying, look at Tantra, look at Tantra. I'm aware of Tantra, and I've done a bit of reading on Tantra, and I know it's like the juice. But having gone through the yoga tradition and that intensive training, I'm just in a space right now where it's pure intuition, right? So, and that's where you get these paradox. So you're constantly when you're in judgment, it's like higher, lower, less than, better than, superior, inferior, fear, love. There's duality. When you make the leap into like your oneness connection, which is ultimate freedom, how to describe, suddenly there's just you and life. There's no real separation, right? Somebody I spoke to recently, and we were working through like just, I guess, darkness. We were working through shades and secrets and lies. And someone said, why would you ever want to talk to me again? Why would you ever want to, right? And I'm like, well, yeah, but that's what love is. Love helps us to resolve any issue without fear and without attachment to outcome, right? So, and then that shows us the contrast of just how rigid and in pain the world is. And, you know, and that's something where when you're doing the work, like the inner work, that can so easily be deflected and distracted and bypassed, that the more and more of us who really genuinely do the work, it is super duper empowering. And it really gets to this point where, and there again is like the self-worth and the self-respect, because now it's like I can feel almost instantaneously if someone's trying to manipulate and get something without being clear, whether it's a date, whether it's just getting to know me, whatever. And then that clarity of, you know, on this level, having an exchange is an exchange. So people seeking exchange. And the beautiful thing is, people who want to do the work are the ones who are serious and are the ones who book sessions. People who are just kind of like curious, like, who's that person? Like, what's she about? I kind of like what she talks about, like whatever they might think. When I broached the exchange rate, the fee for hooking into my time and energy, if they're not truly committed to doing the work, if they're not truly committed to love and radical transformation, they flick it off, or they just say, yeah, not interested, or whatever. So it's just like really rising into this sense of like true empowerment. And so there's again, so I'm talking about like paradoxes, right? This fear-love paradox, because there's shades with this stuff in the world that we live in. And there was so much beauty, safety, and empowerment in that burlesque show last night. But of course, it's triggered in me these energies, these deeper energies of how we power play one another via our bodies, money, power, and sex. And our bodies, power, and sex are our bodies, money and sex, apologies, our bodies, money, and sex, and then status, connection. So like we use certain angles to hook into people and then feed off them. And that's usually because people don't want to be responsible. They don't want to take responsibility for how they feel, so they'll keep playing with people. And that's why right now we're living in such an amazing and really kind of critical time of empowering the empaths and empowering sensitive people. And that's something I'm being called to do, like without shame, just shine light for some people. Like regardless of ego pride, regardless of like whatever my interpretation is, looking at shades, secrets, lies, insidiousness, manipulative behavior within communities, in even so-called conscious communities or like loving communities, and really wanting to remind the empaths, the sensitives, the people who feel it, the people who just feel the love and know there's so much more to this game than just what we're told, right? To really empower those people to know the difference, okay? With fear and love and duality, it's conditional. It means that if somebody's saying like, if you don't behave how I behave, or if and they're like telling everyone else what to do but never owning their own lives, that's a sign of some shady behavior. And there again, it's like, tune in with your heart. I can usually feel the difference in myself and when I'm working with other of like, where there might be subtle like judgment attack, there might be subtle deflection, versus just holding space and saying, yeah, that happened, and I have love for myself, and I can heal myself, and I can feel what's there, but I can't own the other person's behavior. And I can, like, this is the fucking beauty of love, you guys. Like, I can love people genuinely, like feel loads of love, but I can also, as I go deeper, acknowledge where somebody's in pain, and if on an emotional level, certainly energetic level, and be present. But if that person doesn't want to look at their pain, then we can create distance. You know, we're not bound to people. That's the weirdest thing, is like we have all of these rules and regulations and assumptions and beliefs about how our families should look, and how our communities, or how our workplace, or how our homes, or how our bodies. We have all of these fucking many layered conditions, and what I've learned is like none of it ultimately matters. Like the only thing that matters is your connection to your heart, your ability to be true to yourself. And honestly, like the right people will like show up and guide and support along the way, and the people that aren't really in it for your highest good, the people who aren't truly acting out in the betterment for all, they'll just have to do the work. But us sort of making it, and that's a big one, okay? So I'm somebody who's always like tried to be nice and often made excuses for people's behavior and trying to brush things under the rug, or just, generally make excuses like they mean well and da 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 da. And it's not that people who manipulate and people that exhibit certain tendencies are bad people. It's that there's a wound. And this is what's really coming through for me of like the oneness, is that oneness is about healing the wound of separation. When you heal the wound of separation, you begin to quantum manifest. You live in alignment with the totality of all, and you really do end up living your dream life fearlessly, because you're not afraid anymore, because you're not under this weird veil of illusion that everything's separate from you. So it's really hard to attack people and hold grievance, and that's something where I'm like, in various areas, sometimes I just have to clear the air and say there's no bad vibes, but that happened. And I think it's more about addressing things. And if we can't address, again, if we can't be honest in our family life or our personal life, then we haven't got hope in hell of doing what we desire in the world. We as self need to be able to speak our truth and communicate honestly, and how people interpret that is their choice. But when other people are controlling or playing guilt trips or telling you what to do, it's just not. And I really see it. I'm just really seeing it now with sessions and generally in life. Like, people like to talk about their problems, and we do, because there's such core wounding. We have a lot of interpersonal sort of dysfunctional, codependent behavioral patterns in our families and in our close communities and our circle of friends. And this whole awakening is kind of throwing people, like, the normal dynamics often don't work, and there again, like, more and more of us are kind of waking up to that, being like, yeah, actually, like, I'm not here just to serve you. And that is like, that's just being straight up like who we surround ourselves with. We can love people, but we don't have to be like them. That was something that, like, I had to learn about, like, when I was growing up and I had different authority figures or parents saying, like, this is what you should do. You should, like, that's not good. That's not safe. What you desire is not right. So you should do what I think is the right thing for you to do. And I can feel how soul destroying that is. So ultimately, I knew, even as an 18-year-old kid, like, I can't live by your rules. I have to figure it out for myself. So that's part of what this journey has been. You can call it a spiritual awakening, or just a path of self-discovery, or a path homeward, or a journey back to oneness. So if separation is the illusion of fear, oneness is the illusion of love. So now I live in this kind of loving, amazing world where I feel effective in it. And ultimately, it's not a judgment on the world, but now I've risen to the point where I feel of value. I feel truly in service in a way that I knew I dedicated my heart to service, but I wasn't truly living in alignment. But that again is just a journey and a process. And it's like, actually, this journey to getting on purpose with the career was really a 15, 16-year journey. Lots of distractions and bypasses and different paths and stuff. And only now is it making sense. And I think, when we're 15 or we're 18 and we're like, you have to know what you're going to do. And everyone's like, I have to be a doctor, I have to be a lawyer, I have to fucking achieve, I have to strive, I have to get ahead, and like trying to do that, and then having it breakdown after breakdown after breakdown. And then, yeah, this whole kind of world opened up, entrepreneurship and online internet and speaking. And again, like, for a while I was like, are you a speaker? You can be a speaker. But there you have it, like the oneness, knowing that it's only ever you. Like, that simplicity is, I think, what, like, just people are like, what? Like, how is that? And because there's so much going on. There's so many projections. There's so many entanglements. There's so many, and there you have it. There, I gotta say, guys, like, I've been working with someone recently, and it's like, are you meditating? Oh, walking is my meditation. Oh, playing guitar is my meditation. Oh, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, sit down. Even if it's 5 minutes a day or 2 minutes a day, sit down and be quiet. people's like avoidance of the actual craft of meditation is astounding to me sometimes, but it is the gateway, I would say, to that yoking of the oneness and the clarity, because like this is like, you know, 10-15 years, and it's amazing to me still the random thoughts that like swim through, and I'm like, what, where did you come from? I don't want to be thinking you. So okay, so the whole fear love paradox is the fact that you kind of, the love that I talk about, y'all, is like a love that contains the fear-love polarity of our perception. So the unified love is like is the love that we merge into or expand into in acknowledgement of our dualistic form nature. And we can, and so transformation is ultimately expanding into that into that container of love vibration, so that you can more harmoniously or more in more equanimity, you can look at your polarities and be more conscious in your choosing. So you can see the fear stuff, you can see the shame, you can see the guilt, you can see the emotional patterns that loop you or drain you or whatever. You can love them. So when you love them from source love, they transform. Those energetic patterns transform. Those emotional densities transform. Now, if those of you who tune into me recognize, this is super, super important. We are carriers. A lot of us are emotional carriers and also what I like to call pattern breakers. So a lot of us are here, in truth, energetically unprogramming our ancestral and genetic coding. So we literally are taking an evolutionary leap in our human DNA structure, and that is us operating from the unified field, right? Operating from a quantum heart-based field, from that more merged aspect, in a loving recognition of our duality and the fact that we are in essence on a healing journey. This earth is having to undergo a restoration and a healing, and we are part of that healing. And we have chosen this sort of mission, this epic adventure mission that's taken us many a lifetime, and also witnessing from various constellations as well. But the earth is beautiful and protected and safe, and we're safe as well. Just like let the heart lead, you know, let yourself feel the goody juice that's there, and let it lead into like, and there you go guys. It's like that fear love thing. It's so easy to dip back into the fear sometimes, right? And then the ultimate thing is like your heart's desire is leading you. You know, the truest, deepest aspect of our heart's desire is what's leading us to our highest vision. And then if we close that down out of fear, oh yeah, that was a big piece. It is always fear that destroys our relationship, and it's expectation, but expectation based on indoctrination, based on a false program. So we need to unravel that program, get truly connected to the unity and that love that we are in essence, and love from that place. And then loving from that place is easy, it's free, it's flow. And there again, if you're listening to this and working on this, a lot of people won't understand. That's why us just being able to love, but sometimes have distance from people who our expansion is like hurting them because they don't want to look, they don't want to heal necessarily. And this is really tricky in the spiritual conscious communities, because I really can see those distractions and deflections and power over structures all laced with this kind of language. So healers, you know, holding space and talking about all this stuff, but then when shit gets tough, they just dump on you. Or when shit gets tough, they just cut you out. And all these years later, I'm still having to address things that in my heart I think that was wrong. You know, that wasn't, and I've pretended that it was fine, or da-da-da-da. So now we are this beyond spirituality, right? We are now in a unified consciousness expansion of knowing who we are on a much broader level than division and separation based on some fucking high and mighty judgment form, you know, to say that like, well, humans are all fucked up, so the only way to not be fucked up is to act like this. So there's power over in even our spiritual conscious communities because of the system. And that's a huge bit, you guys. Like, in essence, this whole like economy, if we're trying to fit into the economy, we're going to be fucked a little bit, because our spiritual conscious communities, as they become monetized, there's going to be ego and games involved. And that was my experience personally, which astounded me, which is why I think I was guided again in the love forgiveness to let go and really feel like, you know, that's not me, and that I can accept people, because again, that's the system. We can treat each other poopy just because like that's how business is or whatever. And yet that really didn't grok with me. Like, I was really just like, I really want to live the teachings. I want to the best of my ability. I'm a fucking human. I'm drinking coffee with a plastic cup as well. Like, I've totally fallen off the zero waste bandwagon, by the way. And I'm dealing with that. I hung out with my colleague and she totally like kicked my arse because she's on it like hardcore, and I was just like, God, come on. So there, it's transparency, guys. It's just like, if ever I'm like feeling like I'm coming down hard at other people, it's like, it's more just being assertive and knowing my truth, and like knowing that I'm really, truly, truly coming from a place of love has really shifted me into this, like, I love you in my heart, but I'm not going to tolerate shady, shitty behavior. You know, like, I don't think any of us should. I think that's the point of this whole awakening and this whole rising, is that more of us need to like start speaking up and start calling out shady behavior in our families and in our communities and in our circles, and just be like, why would you do that? You know, because we have the power. And then once we call it out, that actually helps their healing. Or it's called out something, a deeper issue that really would, you know, for safety and for mental health and all that kind of stuff, that kind of behavior does need to be called out. Because though that energy stream will often suck high vibration out of an entire community. You know, false leadership and things like covert narcissism can get a whole community of people circling around them doing their bidding in subtle ways that might be nice and might appear, but the truth is all those people in the narcissist mind are fulfilling the picture that they want to create in their mind. And the picture is an egoic projection that protects them from feeling the fear that they carry, from feeling the distortion or the unworthiness and the roots and the pains that they feel. And here's another little bit, guys, is that this never ends. And that's something I know with people, is that they go through one emotional storm, they see a bit of difference, but then more come and they don't want to keep doing it. And you know, I've been an emotional person. I've been doing conscious emotional healing work now for over 5 years. Like super conscious, knowing intuitively what I was doing, and then writing it, journaling it, and like basically building up to writing the book, knowing intuitively that this emotional connection is super like there. And that's like the other, just straight up, guys, if you're on your route, if you're on your awakening journey and you're confused, or you're not sure if there's like weird covert manipulation things happening, on a really on a really like basic level, feel into your heart, get greedy, get not greedy in that way, but get kind of selfish, especially if you know you're naturally like a giver and a sensitive person. Get really clear about like, what kind of life do you desire to live? What kind of like existence do you see yourself living on the sea, or really simply in a cabin, or independently? Like my next projection is a seaside, like open plan, glass fronted apartment. I'm just like, yeah, I want like a nice 2-bed, modern, so that's my vision, right? And I'm hanging out with friends who own properties, and friends who believe in my business, and like who are buying stuff, and like, So I'm feeling really prosperous in that regard, right? And I know that I've shifted because now I'm suddenly hanging out with like independent, prosperous, organized, and active and passionate people, right? Where this whole last little phase was really clearing out the shades and the shadows of people who were still kind of wanting to get stuff from me, or they like how they feel around me, but only when I, again, operate how they want me to operate. And then as soon as I would like address something or like look at something, suddenly there was like slams. It was like coming down on me really hard. Like, no, you're not, that's not how it's gonna work. And I was like, well, I can't, like, you know, and there again, when somebody doesn't want to own their shit, they'll dance around and try to like say all these different things to kind of get you back on side, as it were. And even things like, let's talk, let's have a phone call, let's meet up. And I'm like, no, because you're just gonna find some other crafty way of hooking into my energy, and I do not want that, right? And so, sorry guys, what I was actually saying is that was also relevant. A part of my own denial was being around people who I don't really live like, or certainly my truest heartfelt desire wouldn't desire to live like that. And I do know and understand the teachings of the law of attraction, and we ultimately are like, I guess, all the people we surround ourselves with. So in different elements, and there again, it's not about judgment, but if you look at, it's not about how somebody necessarily makes you feel, especially if there's a codependent relationship or you know, a neediness that's being met. But really simply look at how people live their lives around you. Do they inspire you? Are they super happy? Do they have lots of money? Are they do they have a good track record of harmonious relationships? Are they in harmonious relationships? You know, do they spend their time enjoying themselves and thinking of wonderful things they do? Or do they sit around, you know, talking about other people? Or do they sit around telling other people what to do? So it's just, I think in this month of March, a really nice time, especially because we've got mega high vibration equinox energies coming in. I think it's really important for us to kind of take stock of everything, especially Mercury's going retrograde. Like, just take stock of everything. And myself, my clients, lots of tribe members, and like, this is just across the board all the time. Listen, find quiet time. Find rest time, find nature time, really drop in deep. Allow yourself to go over things, but drop in deep to that place where you know it's all good, you know it's sorted out for you, you know everything, you know you got everything you need. And see how you tune into that oneness. You know, the oneness is the fact that, you guys, I've said it before, but like, all I can say is that it is tangible and indescribable. I don't really wobble anymore. I feel my emotional contrast, but I'm also aware if I'm feeling something, a recurring negative feeling, it's like I'll look at it, transform it, look at it, transform it, take action where necessary. That was something recently, getting over my own ego and taking action because I needed to clear something out. I needed to resolve something for myself. Again, what other people choose to interpret or feel or think, that is their choice. But my integrity is not in question, right? My integrity, my sense of self isn't in question. So the intentional energy of people coming at me, I can feel. So beware! Beware, everybody. And give me some lovin' for the fucking zero waste stuff. And okay, so, and there's another one. It's like, okay, I gotta be easy on myself about this. You know, because I see zero waste people and they're like super caring about the environment, but then they're not vegan. And I'm like, being a vegan is like pretty much the best thing you can do for the environment right now. Or like, you know, well, it is. And then collectively we need to stop producing plastic. And then simultaneously we need to clean up our oceans. And then shift the industry to be a tech, basically tech creation and industry, so that human labor is not really necessary. And then we wipe out false economy, start heart-based exchange platform, maybe electronic as well, or digital. You guys, everything's just got so much changes. So many changes. So many changes. You guys, I hope that was useful to you in some way. If you want to donate to my channel, I really appreciate donations. Some of you guys like randomly just send me money, and I'm just, it's things like, it's a new biz, right? I love this, and I love that I love what I do, and by doing what I love, it supports people the way I feel is in alignment with my heart and soul, because a lot of conventional stuff doesn't work in my weird world. Like, it's always had to be true, you know? It always had to be like, that's something else I'm really noticing. Like, I'm an Aries, plus I'm just like passionate and caring, and I'm a dog in the Chinese. I'm a dog and an Aries, you guys. So I'm like super duper trusting and worthy, or I am trusting and worthy, but that's not what I meant to say. Loyal. I never even fully realized this about myself, because I always hated myself so fucking much. But now, as I'm like appreciating myself and like reconnecting with the inner child and stuff, I'm like, oh, you're so lovely. And the fucking dog, like that loyalty, and like the fact that I literally, and the thing is, I think up until I've reached more maturity, I just assumed everyone was the same. That was a big part of this last, as I've kind of gone bigger, this last learning phase, was being mindful. Like, people lie to your face to get shit from you. And in me, I'm just like, huh? How can you do that? How can you lie to someone's face? It's so mean. And then somebody else is like, oh, what, you never talk behind people's back, or da 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 da. And I was like, well, no, I make my thing. For me, usually it's like I make a choice. I might discuss that, like, I've made this choice, but I tend to not really discuss people's like character, or like just people. I will talk about philosophy, psychology. I'll talk about like energetic, my intuitive like sense of how energies are working, but no, when it comes to like my self-direction, and that's part of me being who I am and being the person that I've become, is that I've most of my adult life, and I think it's partly obviously because of my upbringing and the independence that was instilled in my sister and I, but I'm self-directed. That's part of why when my energy comes into contact with people, like most people, like clients or even just friends or whatever, when they come into my life, they go through massive transformation. Just coming into my energy field, suddenly they improve self-direction, they improve emotional awareness, they suddenly start believing in themselves more, and that energy field kind of expands and opens them up. Versus people who don't want to heal, people who don't really get this stuff, either they try to get something, or they run away and make up stories about you to help them not have to feel, right? So there's all these like shades and nuances, and like I'm really feeling that kind of, I don't know, something shifted for me where I'm really just finding humanity incredibly fascinating. And I think and feel like there's definitely a human collective pain body. Like, humans are in pain, and a whole bunch of humans are in pain and they don't want to admit it. And that's kind of part of the, like, come on guys, like, we need to stop pretending. And it's not about people being like me and having to like share and express super honestly everywhere, but certainly what we can start to do is engage in harmonious and conscious conversation in our families and our friends. But there again, walk away if we need to. Walk away and find space for self, so we get to know self. Yourself is the most important thing in the world. Because here's the thing, right? Here's the thing that I was thinking about a situation that I've been in, is like, when every single encounter is a relationship on some level, because a relationship is ultimately us and how we relate to self. Every encounter is a reflection of how we relate to self and as ourselves, right? The spirit that we are, the essence that we are. And we don't realize that we have all these conditions and assumptions and beliefs attached to relationship, right? And really, the only relationship you have with yourself, and you're either feeling good, you're feeling open, you're feeling alive, you're feeling excited, you're feeling like compassion, you're feeling connected, you're feeling, or you're projecting and deflecting and distracting and assuming and thinking rather than knowing self. Thinking, which is just a mental pattern based on those emotional patterns. So once you start to unlock those emotional densities, the whole game will start to change. It's like, it didn't take long for me to like really start to see a paradise on this planet. I just have to keep focusing on that paradise. I just have to keep focusing on heaven on earth. And that's what a lot of people still maybe don't quite understand about me, why I will always look at it from the highest perspective possible. Because my vision is a global vision. So I have to hold the whole world in my heart. And again, why I can so easily at this point just get over my pride and reach out to people, because my main intent is to just love people, no matter where they are, no matter where they are. You know, my journey is to love people. And so it's like, for me, it's just like, how can I keep loving people better? Well, here's the juicy bit, you guys. It appears to be like the more I love myself, the more I can just love people, and then people are like, wow, or like, get out of my face, you shiny, annoying, happy person. But I'm not always like that, obviously. I can be really fucking serious too, and aggro. I gotta say, you guys, I'm amazed because I started to realize like I'm not really that angry anymore. I get kind of like assertive. I could definitely like, oh, and then I had that really good women's empowerment thing, but like how my assertiveness, people were like, ooh, you're angry, and I'm like, I'm not angry. I trust me, like if I'm angry, you can feel the heat. But here's the honesty. I used to have hardcore control patterns, like hardcore, obviously. I hated myself for most of my life. So you gotta control everything and everyone around you. And OCD, like massive cleaning and control issues and anger issues. Anger and control totally go together. And I started healing those. And I can honestly, I'm fucking amazed at how this stuff works and how miraculous it is. But like, I honestly don't really get that angry about stuff anymore. Like, I'm not... Recently, it was more about, I wasn't particularly angry, but I was like I was owning my power in a situation, almost like, again, so I wasn't holding something in my heart. But yeah, like calling people out doesn't mean I hate people or that like I'm angry. If anything, the weird paradox is that it's really like more love. It's more loving. Like, I feel more love for people because I'm like, hey guys, like, don't do that. It's not nice. We don't want to live in that world, and you know it's true. And if you really looked at yourself, you'd see it. You see. So I just love you guys so much. I'm so appreciative for you guys finding me on this YouTube platform and somehow being guided. It's like our higher selves are all guiding us together. We're in it, where there's a lot more people showing up and there's a lot more momentum, energetic momentum. So, like, I just feel like I want to cry because I just love you guys so much. And I love life, and I'm just so, like, I feel so blessed to be alive. Especially after a good, like, 30-odd years of not knowing if there's going to be a way out. And wanting so desperately to be the one. Now I'm the one. I got nothing to say. Life is good. I love you guys. Thank you so much. This is a really long share. I hope I didn't bore you to death. Love you. Bye.